Firstly, welcome everyone to our webinar on Trend Micro Worry-Free XDR, hosted by myself, Kyle Waslin. I'm a vendor specialist at Arrow, and my colleague, Paul Jackman, who's a sales engineer at Trend Micro. I'm now going to pass over to Paul, who's going to run through the agenda. If anybody has any questions today, just pop them in the chat box and we'll have a Q&A session at the end and that we can run through those. So Paul, over to you.
Perfect, thank you very much. So we've got a very action-packed agenda this morning, so I'll go through these one by one. But yeah, first of all, we'll be talking around understanding the cyber threat landscape. So we'll be talking around the latest cyber threats and what their impacts are. We'll then talk around the importance of early detection, so why it's important to detect threats early so you can help reduce and minimize the damage before it becomes critical. And after that, we'll talk around worry-free XDR as a whole. So we'll be looking at what XDR is, how it can benefit your organization, but also how it can enhance your organization's threat detection and response capabilities. So we'll be going through lots of different benefits and also the ins and outs of how that can help from that perspective. And then we'll talk around the integrated threat data correlation, so how you can correlate the data from your different endpoints to emails and how you can piece all of that data together to give you a clearer picture and fill in the missing pieces of the puzzle to give you a story of the attack, what's going on, but also what we spotted and how we can help you solve those different issues. We'll then talk around the different market reports. So we'll talk around how we stand out from our competitors in terms of the different independent third-party research companies, the likes of Gartner and obviously Forrester as well. And then we'll go through some case studies. So we'll go through different quotes that customers have said in terms of how they've used worry-free XDR and how that's benefited their organization from a cybersecurity perspective. And at the end, I'll then summarize worry-free XDR as a whole. I'll talk through the most important key points to remember so that you can take away these key points. And then I'll hand over to Kyle, who then wrap it up and talk around the XDR promotions. And then at the end, we'll have the Q&A session. So please do utilize the Q&A section and we'll visit those questions at the end. And also do use the chat box. And a note as well, this is being recorded, so we will send out this presentation recording and also the presentation as well, so you can refer back to this if you've missed it, or if you've joined it now, you can have a look as well in your own time. So let's kick off with the first piece of the agenda, which is understanding the cyber threat landscape. So as you may know, the threat landscape is always consistently changing and evolving. So attackers are essentially trying to think of new ways in to attack an organization and different places to attack. So what they want to do is they want to try and remain anonymous at every stage of the attack, and they want to make sure that they can get as much data as they can to essentially sell it in the dark web or use it for malicious purposes. That's why it's important to make sure that your cyber assets are secure and your essentially your environment is strong in order to detect any malicious behavior and activity. So cyber criminals are always looking at new ways to gain access into systems, and it's crucial for businesses to know what the risks are in your environment, but also the exposure of different areas of your organization that needs to be have a looked at. So there are quite a few consequences of a data breach to an organization. I've included a few, which is financial loss, also data loss, reputational damage, and also operational disruption. So it's crucial for businesses to ensure that they are well defended against all of these different cyber threats, because these threat actors are really trying their best to infiltrate systems, and it's important for businesses to ensure that their security posture is compliant but also well secured to spot any of these different threats and attacks. So at this moment in time, email is the #1 threat vector. So it takes up 94%, and 6% is web and others. So it's important to ensure that your email state is protected. And there's many different ways of doing so in terms of training your employees. So phishing is a very, very common way for threat actors to infiltrate into gaining access to employees' accounts. So it's important to make sure your organization is equipped with the employees knowing what a phishing email is, knowing what to detect in an email. Does this email address look a bit suspicious, or is this email look a bit strange in terms of how it's crafted? So there's many different ways of detecting a phishing email and detecting lots of different things that might be alarming and causing issues that you want to have a look at. So yeah, email is the #1 threat vector, and it's the source of phishing, but also ransomware attacks as well. So what you can see here is the cyber assets on the top right, the top going right, and also the attack vectors going down. So this is essentially a representation of the digital attack surface. So threat actors are looking at different ways in, whether that is trying to infiltrate user accounts, or trying to gain access to servers or cloud workloads, or endpoints. So it's really important to make sure that your security is adhered to, and it's a crucial part of ensuring that your environment is safe and secure. And on the left-hand side going down, we've got the different attack vectors. So threat actors are looking at trying to compromise your credentials by maybe doing dictionary attacks, and they may be having a look at utilizing weak credentials, so using common passwords to try and gain access to user accounts. So there's many different ways in, which is why it's very important to make sure you look at your cybersecurity posture as a whole and understand the different ways in, and putting mitigation actions in place to help spot all of these different ways in of an attack. So this diagram here is essentially outlining the different ways in of threat actors and to basically infiltrate systems. So I'll pick the work from home point here. So a few years ago, obviously when COVID-19 happened, lots of businesses shifted their workforce to have everybody working from home. Threat actors knew about this, so they were thinking of ways in to essentially gain access to systems. So it's important that businesses are equipped with knowing the different trends and how businesses can put mitigation actions and steps in place to help reduce the risk. Same goes for legacy. We do know a lot of businesses do use legacy operating systems for business purposes, and we do appreciate that, and we do have one piece in our portfolio in the enterprise suite which actually does protect legacy operating systems. So we do understand it is a very common thing for businesses to use, but threat actors are looking at ways to actually infiltrate those legacy OSs, maybe because Microsoft have stopped supporting those operating systems, but we do provide protection for that. So there's different ways in of how threat actors are actually trying to break through all the different security controls and steal data and use it for malicious intent. So the next topic on the agenda is talking around the importance of early detection. So if you spot any signs of malicious activity early, you can help reduce the impact and the damage that may have to the organization. So I always think of having a proactive response rather than reactive. So always thinking about what could happen in advance, and rather putting things in place first to actually stop that threat actor from actually gaining access to your system. So it's always important to have a comprehensive cybersecurity strategy. So I've included here prevent, detect, and respond. this is a really good way of actually making sure that you're preventing an attack happening first, and then once you've detected it, then you can respond. So it's a really good way to actually think about it, to spot anything early warning first, and actually making sure that you do have those defenses in place before damage can actually happen. So again, there are lots of benefits of detecting any early warning signals of an attack, one of which is reducing and minimizing the damage that it could have, but also cost effectiveness, preserving trust and reputation, and also ensuring compliance. So all of these different benefits are what you would get if you do spot any sort of malicious activity in advance. So it's really important to ensure that you do have the right pieces of security implemented in your environment to spot any threats and vulnerabilities before they could actually cause even more severe damage. So the main chunk of this webinar is where I'll be talking around Worry-Free XDR. So I'll be talking around the benefits, the features, the capabilities, but also how it can enhance your organization's cybersecurity defense strategy. So I'll build up the slide here just to outline the different tiers and what you would get within each tier. So these are all the different tiers of Worry-Free. The first one is Worry-Free Services. So that is just protecting your endpoints. You then can add on email security and cloud app security as well, but it's not included as default unless you have Worry-Free Services Advanced. But Worry-Free XDR is the topic of this webinar, and that is where you would get your endpoint security, your email security, but also the XDR add-on on top. I'll be talking around the threat investigation piece, the threat hunting piece, and also the root cause analysis throughout the next few slides. But this is a really nice graphic to show you the different tiers and how they all play in terms of what you would get within each specific tier. So first of all, Worry-Free XDR is designed for overstretched IT teams. So the way I think of Worry-Free XDR is for teams who don't have the skills, they don't have the time, or they don't have the knowledge to be able to understand and utilize the Worry-Free XDR platform. Worry-Free XDR is very simple and very easy to use. It will give you lots of different benefits and features, and it will enhance your visibility to understand what's going on from a security perspective, and you will get that holistic overview of what's going on and so on and so forth. So as mentioned, Worry-Free XDR is a combination of Services Advanced and the email piece, but also the XDR sensor. So the way how I think of XDR and how it's a key solution to use is you can't defend what you can't see. XDR is the solution for that, is because you have XDR sensors at different endpoints, whether that are mobile phones, servers, laptops, desktops, and what that will do is those sensors will collate the data into the data lake for you to be able to understand what's going on. Is there any early warning signals of an attack, and how can I utilize this data to understand what's going on? So I've outlined a few benefits here of what Worry-Free XDR will offer. So first of all, you'll get noteworthy events with a broader infection chain. So we won't just give you all the alerts, we'll just give you alerts that you'll need to actually understand and utilize them to know what's going on. So we're not going to give you any alert fatigue, we'll just give you the alerts that you'll need to take the next necessary steps. And talking of which, there are step-by-step actionable recommendation steps. So this is giving the IT admin those different recommendations of what we can help you to do to solve those different issues. There's that data correlation from the XDR sensors. So as I mentioned, it's all about collating data from those different endpoints and putting it into the data lake so that you can utilize the data to know what's going on, what's been detected on one device, what's been detected here, and putting together those different pieces of data together so you can build a story of what's going on. There'll be the threat investigation capability, so you'll have indicator of compromise sweeping and also root cause analysis. So this is just about investigating into the threat, into the alert, and knowing what's going on. And the same here, the advanced threat detection through cloud sandboxing. So there'll be a sandbox environment where anything suspicious or something that we're not sure about is suspicious will be submitted. That will run in a safe environment and will determine whether it's actually malicious or not. And that's all enclosed in one environment that's not connected to your production network. So you'll be able to run it there to see if it's malicious or not. And then from there, you can actually discover, assess, and mitigate those threats. So that's just a few benefits of what you would get within the Worry-Free XDR suite. So lots of different benefits to use, and organizations can use these straight away as soon as they've assigned the license key and set it all up and went into the policy section and applied the relevant settings. So I'll go through these next few slides, which is essentially a practical demonstration just showing you actually how it would look in the console. So what you can see on this screen is an email that has come through and it has an attachment. And what you can see here is we seem to see that there's been unauthorized file encryption within that attachment. So what you can see here is a summary. So it will outline what's going on, but also in red on the right hand side is the different recommended actions on what you can do to help solve that issue. So you can see there the first one is isolate the endpoint, investigate the email message, investigate the noteworthy objects, and also run an aggressive scan. So we don't just say this is what we've detected, we're actually giving you those recommended actions of what you can do to help solve that issue. And what you can see on the left, on the other one that's outlined in red, is isolate endpoint. So you can actually take actions immediately just by clicking on isolate endpoint. You can isolate that endpoint so it has no more interactions within your environment. So what you can see at the bottom is essentially a story timeline of what we've detected and what's going on. So it's really nicely laid out just so you can understand what's going on, what the threats are, what can you do to solve the issue, and also what can you immediately do in terms of actions. The next one here is another similar one. So this is an email message that has come through by email with an attachment, and we've detected it as suspicious. In this case, the file attachment that triggered a malicious process is that .zip file. And you can actually see the content of the email. So you can see the subject is, I want to play a game. You can see the sender's email address. You can also see how many recipients received this email, the time, the date, how many attachments. In this case, there's one. And you can actually see in more detail the actual attachment that's involved. In this case, we can see that it's suspicious. And you can actually block the object straight away just by clicking on block objects, which is highlighted in red. So we want to give you as much information as possible for you to know what's going on, but also for you to take the relevant actions in place. Again, this is another example of that same attachment. So what you can see on actions is you can actually quarantine that message, and you can also delete the message. So straight away, you can see you can take relevant actions in place to help solve and resolve that issue there. So those are the screenshots of the console and the different actions and what you can actually see by utilizing the XDR feature within Worry-Free. So the way how Worry-Free works is essentially we've got a Worry-Free XDR data lake. So that is essentially a pool of data from your environment of activity that we've detected. So you'll have those XDR sensors, for example, on your endpoint and on your email. and all of that data and telemetry will all be fed into that data lake. And from that data lake, you can actually utilize different features and functionalities like root cause analysis, which is to actually analyze and know what's going on, but also sweeping, hunting, and using that automated detection functionality. So it's a really good way to know how to use the XDR piece. It's all about collating all of that telemetry from those sensors and being able to build a bigger picture of what's going on in your environment, so you have more visibility and more control of what's going on. So this is a representation essentially of how we actually filter out the good and the bad data. So the way I think of XDR is, if you think of a funnel, essentially the data will filter through whether it's good or whether it's bad. So you have different layers. So the way I think of security is having a multi-layered approach. So not just having one single bullet and that just goes through and either it's accepted or denied. In this case, we have a filtered approach. So there's different security modules and controls that will go through at different layers of the funnel, one of which might be the IPS, one might be machine learning, one might be behavioral analysis. But what you can see here, there are different colors. One is red, another shade of red, and another shade. And these are representing the known good data, the known bad, but also the unknown data. So the known bad will straight away be blocked, which will go through the right-hand side. But the unknown will need to sieve through first to see, is it actually dangerous or is it okay? So that's why it will go through the different layers first. If we know it's good, then it will go through the left, and those save files and actions will be allowed. So it's just a nice way to actually think of how the data is actually processed. You need to make sure it goes through the different checks to see, is it safe, is it allowed through, is it malicious, can we block it? So this is just one example of how we utilize the different security controls. So on this next piece, we'll be talking around the integrated threat data correlation. So the way how I think of XDR is it's all integrated into your environment. So that might be a sensor on your server, might be a sensor on your laptop, your mobile phone, your desktop. And essentially the reason for the XDR sensor is to break down the silos and also reduce the amount of noise, but also to give you a story of what's going on. So as you can see on this diagram here, you can see there's different lines of different data that's been passing through and different sensors. And as you know, attackers don't stay in silos. They're always moving around laterally and they're always trying to remain anonymous. So hence why it's important for those security teams to know what's going on, if an attack happens, how it started, how did the attacker first get in, what was the time, what was the date, what have they done, where have they moved. And that's why it's important to have the XDR sensor. So those are deployed on those different endpoints so we can pick up and see all the different pieces of data, where the data is moving, and also to give you that story of what's going on. So that's the main chunk, I guess, of Worry-Free XDR and the different features and benefits. But there is a summary at the end where I'll then summarize Worry-Free XDR as a whole and how that can help. But we'll now look at the market reports, and I'll be going through these on this slides. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but we do have a zero-day initiative that Trend own essentially. So it's called the Zero-Day Initiative Bug Bounty Program. So we employ 10,000 independent vulnerability researchers, and what they do is they look out for any zero-day vulnerabilities. So 0 days are essentially any vulnerabilities that nobody knows of. These are brand new vulnerabilities, and hackers can use these in their benefit to exploit. So what we do is we've taken up 64% of the market share, and what we do is we then release rules and IPS rules and patches in place to help put a block to that 0-day. And what we do is we then pay that that hunter a bounty for them disclosing to us what they found. So we're the market leader in this space. We have been for the past 14 years. And as you can see here, we take up 64%, and we're the #1 in this space. And this is the most disclosed high impact vulnerabilities, and those are including the critical and also the high severity alerts. So this is one of Trend's USPs, and this is really important to know that we do invest a lot into research, because we want to make sure we know what's going on, we know what the trends are, we know what threat actors are doing. So we need to make sure that we look out for our customers and put together all the relevant patches in place to help protect our customers from the ever evolving threats. So this is another diagram here of the Canales report. So this is for the SME endpoint security trends in 2023. So as you can see here, we take up 14.8% of the market share. So we take up the largest market share in this case, and we've retained our position as the leading endpoint security vendor for small businesses last year with our Worry-Free services suites. So you can be rest assured that we're always looking at improving Worry-Free. We're always implementing new releases and patches in place to make sure Worry-Free and Worry-Free XDR is up to standard, and it's all up to date with the latest security trends, etc. So we do have here the Gartner Peer Insights review for Trend Micro XDR. As you can see here again, we've got 4.7 out of 5, and 94% of customers are willing to recommend Trend Micro XDR. So it's not just about me showing you how good Worry-Free is, but also you can see here real case studies on the next few slides, but also the reviews of what customers have said around Trend Micro XDR. I have included a link here, so if you want to have a look into this report in more detail, I've hyperlinked this link, so if you click on Gartner Peer Insights Review, you can have a look into this review in more detail. So as mentioned, on this next slide, I'll be talking around the real world case studies of what customers have said around Worry-Free XDR. So one example here of what a customer said is, with other products, there's a lot of bloat. With Trend Micro, you don't get that. There's consolidation of management and reporting onto the cloud portals, which makes everything easier for us. So what we've done with Worry-Free is we've designed it to be simple and straightforward to use, and we want to consolidate everything into one single pane of glass console, which is why we want to make sure customers don't have a hard time with trying to use the console and not knowing where to go to. We've designed it to be simple and straightforward to use. And again here, a customer said, security is not a destination, it's a journey. Trend Micro has helped us on that journey by giving me the feeling that they're on top of everything every step of the way. The XDR gives us the ability to manage security across our customers to offer better protection and allow all the events to be viewed together. XDR provides the visibility, confidence, and level of sophistication we need to protect anything. And then you can see the other two case studies there. So these are real life case studies, which you can actually see on the customer success portal. I've included a link at the bottom there if you'd like to have a look into those reviews in more detail in terms of all the other information the customers said around Worry-Free XDR. But I just wanted to put that there just so you can see how customers have actually used Worry-Free XDR to their advantage and to their benefit. So we're coming up near towards the end of the webinar now, but what I thought I'd do is summarize what we've spoken about within the last half an hour. So organizations may have the most advanced protection layers, but it doesn't mean they're immune to cyber threats, because there isn't such thing as 100% prevention. So even though there's lots of risks and there's lots of costs associated, it's important for all businesses to respond to threats and manage threats and have that visibility into their environment before significant damage is done. So with Worry-Free XDR, we are named a leader for endpoint email detection and response. With XDR, you will get that enhanced visibility into your security and also into your risk exposure. We've got artificial intelligence that helps to power the platform with automated data correlation all in that one console. You'll get protection against ransomware and advanced attacks with higher fidelity machine learning, automated detection, sweeping, hunting, root cause analysis, step-by-step actions so you can take those mitigation steps as quick as you can. You get a broader perspective so you know what's going on in your environment to be able to detect, investigate, and respond to those threats. But also you'll get that story timeline so you can know what's going on, what we've detected, and this is across your email, across your endpoints, whether that's servers, laptops, and so on and so forth. So you get all of these different benefits with upgrading to Worry-Free XDR. So on the next page, I'll hand over to Kyle, who will now talk around the Worry-Free XDR promotion piece.
Perfect, thank you, Paul. So Trend do actually offer a Worry-Free 3 for 2 incentive. I believe it represents great value for the customer. Pictured here is the criteria that the order has to meet. It basically offers the customer 3 years for the price of 2. So say, for example, you've got a customer that wants to use the XDR piece but might not have the budget, might make it a little bit more cost effective. They're effectively getting the 3rd year for free. As I say, here's the criteria for it. It does most orders for Worry-Free, that would cover it. If anybody would like a quote to compare, just if they are thinking about the XDR piece, please reach out to me. In the last slide, my email's there, so I'm happy to facilitate. If you want to move on.
Perfect.
So now we're going to go through our Q&A. If anybody's got any questions, please use the chat box. I've had a couple of questions I've been asked already, so we'll run through those shortly, just while we're waiting for any more questions. Paul, does the XDR add-on affect CPU usage?
No, not at all. So the XDR sensor is very lightweight. It'll run in the background and you won't see any performance issues at all. So it just does its thing in the background. It will pick up and detect anything. It'll feed it into the data lake and you won't see any performance issues at all. So no issues on that.
That's great. And secondly, how straightforward is the actual activation of XDR?
Yeah, so the activation process is very seamless, easy and simple to do. All you'll need to do is register the license key, activate it, and then if you go into the policy section, all you'll need to do is turn on endpoint sensor, and that will start collecting all the data from those XDR sensors deployed across your environment.
Doesn't look as though at the minute we have any questions in the chat window. Give you 30 seconds just in case there is anything. But I believe Paul's presentations should have covered everything. If there is anything more, happy to either reach out to me or Paul. Our emails will be in the next slide.
Yeah, we'll give it another 10 seconds or so just to make sure if you are typing a question, we'll be able to answer them. Hopefully that's covered everything. Hopefully I've answered all the questions that you may have had at the start. Just wait another few seconds, just in case. Can't see any questions here at this moment in time.
Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, feel free to send me an email so I can reach out to Paul, or if I can answer it myself if it's regarding commercials, then that's absolutely fine. So we'll leave the Q&A for there.
Perfect.
But no, thank you everyone for joining. I hope it's been informative. I think Paul's been brilliant and you've explained everything really clearly. Both our contact details are there. As I say, any questions from my side, if you need to know anything about commercials, if you'd like a quote just to compare budgetary reasons, it's absolutely fine. But no, thank you, Paul. Thank you everyone for joining. Hope we'll have a good day.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks all. Take care.